What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Wait What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 176. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there, get notified when we go live with either the podcast or the stream, so you join all the fun and the chaos over there. But if you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video in MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can support, like, shares, reviews, subscriptions, whatever means you may have. It may seem small, but it does help the channel grow, helps us out immensely. So if you have the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. If you're listening to this in real time, holy crap, a second podcast this week. I know. Hi. A lot of wrestling happened this week, including NXT Battleground and Monday Night Raw, which luckily I was able to attend in person. So that will be our talking points, our topics today. So let's start with Battleground. Pretty good pay-per-view overall, or premium live event, whatever verbiage you want to use. And also seems to be kind of the talk of the town in terms of, like, the weekend's wrestling events. There was Impact had Under Siege. WWE had Night of Champions. AEW had Double or Nothing. And then NXT did their Battleground event, and I was like, initially I was like, well, this one's kind of going to get kind of pushed under the rug with all the competition going around, Double or Nothing being at the exact same time. Like, this is going to be a little rough for these guys. But apparently, I guess a lot of people enjoyed it, which is great. And some of the other stuff didn't perform up to people's standards, I guess, or wasn't super entertaining. So that's a little bit of a down note. But hey, people watched it, people enjoyed it, that's what's important. If you guys watched it, hopefully you got something out of it. But yeah, we just want to talk about all the matches of the Battleground event and thoughts and feelings on results, maybe where to go from here with, as of recording, NXT being tonight. We know a few things that they're setting up. Let's get on into it. So over Battleground's card, we had 6 matches in total. So, we kicked off the night with the North American Championship, Wes Lee defending his title against Tyler Bate and Joe Gacy. I'll admit, I got to this one a little bit late, just timing messed up. But from what I saw of the match, I think I only missed maybe a few, like 5 minutes or so. Solid match. In my opinion, not as exciting as the Fatal 5-Way from Stand and Deliver, but still a solid match between these three. They had good chemistry of the multi-man, where it didn't feel like it was just one-on-one for a lot of time. There was in and out moments where it felt like a constant, fluid battle between the three for the belts, whether it was double moves or just someone happened to be taking advantage after a sequence had taken place, and it just kept going, boom, 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 from there. Going into this, I thought maybe we were going to see a little bit of a change. We've seen Wes kind of defend the North American title, whether it's been open challenges on weekly television or obviously pushing himself in the live events. I thought maybe this was going to kind of be the division point and see him lose the title, but turns out Wes has defended the title, retained it here, and he will be still the North American champion. I think if I heard right from some other podcasts, just kind of listening to their content and listening to it back, he pinned Joe Gacy, so there's potential that maybe they could get set up a rematch between him and Tyler Bate, just do a one-on-one there. I'm sure that would be great. Their setup for this was Joe playing the mind games of like, oh, your friend's not really your friend, he's got ulterior motives. So I guess they could continue playing that of like the distrust between the two. Or rather Wes' distrust of Tyler, and then I don't think they would push Tyler to go heel, but that would be certainly a twist to it for Mr. Mustache Mountain. I mean, he's been with the company for a while, and I don't think he's had a change of character in terms of heel face. So yeah, we'll have to see how things progress between that division going forward. Next one, I will say this was probably, if not the low point, one of the low points, just from my opinion in particular. We had the NXT Heritage Cup Championship with Noam Dar going against Dragon Lee. It wasn't that it was bad. It was just the pacing of it. Now, for the Heritage Cup, I guess they do. It originated in NXT UK, which granted I've only watched, maybe dipped my toe into that content. I think they had like 3 full years of content over there, and I've only watched the first few weeks of the first year. So I don't know too much about the specifics here. But for the Heritage Cup, it's different rules that they wrestle under. It's still standard match, but instead of just going until the first pinfall, for submission, for however long they're going to battle it out, they do 5 or 6 rounds, 3 minutes. If you get a pinfall or submission during one of those rounds, you get a point for the round. If nobody does, it's just a stalemate and your time's up. You can also win via knockout, I think is what they said. And that would end it completely, and whoever's still standing wins. If there's a tie, similar to Champion's Advantage for any other belt, the person who holds the cup initially walking in will retain the cup or keep the cup. So it's not that these two didn't do a good job. It was just the pacing of the match was very stop and go. With the rounds, it was very much like I would guess boxing, where you hit that time limit, you go back to your corners, you got your corner men, and then it's like, okay, quick little 30 seconds or whatever the hell break, and then they go back into it. So for the wrestling match, when things started to pick up in pace and kind of get momentum, they're doing a lot of moves or whatever it is, that's when we would hit the stopping point, and obviously straight interruption, just it messes with the whole flow of the thing. I wasn't against the rules. I think just maybe a typical Iron Man match or format would be better. Just putting don't do a 60-minute Iron Man match, but maybe you do a 15 or a 20. I think just because it's a constant flow, there's no stopping points, so it's not like that up and down roller coaster of emotions, which I guess you want in the match, but this felt like more hard pivots instead of the natural progression of like, we're really excited for something, and then we're coming down from that, and then something else happens and we get really excited. This felt just broken up too much. Granted, first experience with it, maybe it'll kind of grow on me the more we see it, because this seems to be something carrying over from the UK brand to kind of make it this thing. So yeah, both gentlemen did great. I think so. Noam ended up winning this one. I think it went to the last round, or maybe it was the 5th round. He was up 2-1, and via distraction, I think it's Jakara Davis is her name, Lash Legend got involved, both of them. Jakara with the distraction, Lash hit Dragon Lee with the bucket thingy for if he needed to yak or spit or whatever. I don't know. She just whacked him, and then Noam picked up the win there. So we kind of have a new team between Noam, Jakara, Lash, and Mensa. What's his first name? Oros? I think that's his name. Oros Mensa? Yeah. So the 4 of them are now some kind of group. I'm a little confused by it. So I get Mensa being out there. I guess last week they set up we need cornermen. So Nathan Frazier decided to help Lee and be his corner guy. And then Mensa was talked to by Dar, asked to be his corner guy. He didn't seem receptive at first. And then during this match, no one entered with Noam. And then Mensa came out after the first round, so he was late to the party. Not sure why, not sure what the setup was there. Well, obviously we see the setup with the team. As for the ladies, Noam has been seen in the past couple weeks interacting with them, but it's almost like he's kind of hitting on them, or hey ladies, check out my giant championship cup trophy. Isn't this cool? Blah, blah, blah. And they kind of blew him off. And I was like, oh, this is just kind of, he's supposed to be this scummy, sounds like the wrong word, but a shady heel. Maybe it's just they're oh, yeah, you're just full of yourself. We don't care. But then for them to come around and then help just is total 180 from what they were showing in the first place. So I don't know if Oro's got something to do with that. Maybe he recruited them instead. But we have this contingent now. We would see them backstage later celebrating. But Noam keeps the Heritage Cup. We'll probably get a run back between at least him and Lee at some point. We'll just have to see. Next one might have been the match of the night. We had Ilya Dragunov and Dominik Dijakovic, or Dijak as he's called now, in the last man standing match. Boy, did these two guys lay in their shit. We got a cool table spot with Ilya diving through it while Dijak was trying to set it up vertically, or at least trying to move it. We had some pounds on the stairs and some decent hits there. We had some kendo shots, brutal in the corner. Ilya got busted open on the chin at one point. I think they had to take a quick look at it because it was a pretty decent gash. But he was there. But yeah, these guys laid in their stuff. Ilya just did go over and win this match over Dijak after hitting 2 of his like jumping forearm elbow type strikes. I will say this one's brutal. Nothing super serious in terms of like injuries. You got the chin gash. If you're not prone to like, I don't know, injury stuff, maybe watch out for the end. Ilya gets kind of wrecked at some point. The chin's gash, I think, was from a boot, and it just took a little while for it to start. But at the end of the match, he's holding his arm kind of down and tight to his chest. And when we finish the match and the referee's holding like his arm up in celebration to mark the winner, you can tell that he's got a decent bruise on his wrist. And then if you look up farther on his forearm's got this giant purple spot, and it's swollen big time. As far as I can tell, I haven't seen any reports of any injuries, if anything was broken or anything like that. I don't know if they would put that information out there. Maybe he'll talk tonight about something. But yeah, something happened, and he got pretty messed up. He finished the match fine, but just like the amount of swelling his arm had, I was like, that's concerning. I have a guess that maybe it was the kendo shots. So Ilya was kind of draped in the corner, or rather backed against the corner. And Dijak was nailing him with the kendo shots. He was aiming for his chest, which he definitely got. But the way Ilya was kind of holding onto the rope, so like he wrapped his arms around, so then the rope is around like the elbow creases. I don't know if the tip of the kendo stick whacked his bicep or something like that. He looked at it a few times during the strikes. I'm not sure if maybe potentially that is where it happened. But yeah, interesting. Hopefully everybody's okay. But both of these guys did a fantastic job with that match. It's been great seeing Dijak back in more of a serious element since the T-bar stuff. But great job for these guys. Very entertaining match. Solid. And yeah, just hopefully everybody's okay. Nobody's hurt. Next one. Probably another low point for me just because, I don't know, wasn't super exciting of a match. But we had Gallus, the NXT Tag Team Champions, defending against the Creed brothers. Creeds are good. Creeds are, they've earned my respect for what they can do. They're very talented. They picked up on the stuff. I just don't particularly care for their characters, whether it's been Diamond Mine, the original iteration, to what they're going to now. And then Gallus is kind of the same, where I can see it. They're these big dudes that handle their business and drink a lot, I guess. But other than that, I don't know what they got going for us or them. Granted, they're a little bit newer to the American NXT, so maybe it's just a matter of time getting more acclimated to them. But Gallus does retain here via distraction. So Creeds were pretty much in control at the end. Ivy Niles outside. Ava Rain from Schism comes out and attacks her randomly. They kind of had a little bit of back and forth leading up, but it was like, why are you interfering for Gallus? Okay. Takes her out. Julius gets distracted. I believe he turns around and gets hit with whatever Gallus's finisher is. So Gallus will retain there. The match was fine. It's just once again, it's totally a me thing. I just don't connect with these characters super duper well. So in watching it, technically, from a technical standpoint, all good stuff. No problems there. It's just like my investment personally into it was kind of yeah. So fine. Interested to know why Ava would help the Gallus guys or Gallus boys in this, even if just doing stuff for herself. Like if she's trying to set up like the dyad, Jagger Reed and some Rick Fowler, I think that's his name. Grizzled young veterans formerly set them up for the tag titles. You would probably want the good guys to win. Not that Ava's going to be thinking about this from a wrestling perspective, like, oh, the good guys need to win so my team can then go attack them. Like, if that was her intentions, it's just odd. Like, if you already have problems with them, maybe set that up, but then you're giving them success with the tag titles. I don't know. Who knows? Just interesting. I want some more explanation there. If we're going to do something between those two where they have a match, I'm all down for that. I don't think we've seen Ava wrestle all that much. I think she had a mixed tag not too long ago. And then Ivy, I think she's primarily wrestled on Level Up. But she's another one where I feel like she's been around for a while, but they haven't really done much with her. I guess she did the tag team stuff with Tatum Paxley. But it's still another thing of like, I'd want to see more of this, and then let's continue that momentum forward and hopefully continue a good story. And a surprise hit of the night, and once again, my opinion here, we had the finals of the NXT Women's Championship bracket. We had Tiffany Stratton going against Lyra Valkyria, and the ladies did a good job. Tiffany ends up taking it here, which a lot of people kind of thought would happen. Yeah, ladies did a great job. Everything looks smooth. We did the simple-ish story of like, oh, one competitor's hurt going into the match. The heel is going to be dastardly and focus on that injury and take advantage of it and eventually pick up the win. I was a little timid going into this match just because we haven't seen really these ladies kind of put in this light. And I know you could say like, oh, well, how do you expect them to perform up to that level standard without putting them in it? Totally fair. It's just, I was a little nervous. With the tournament, I thought we were going to go the basic route. We thought we were going to do a Roxanne versus Cora, do kind of a run back of that program. Maybe Cora picks up the win this time instead of Roxanne, becomes champion there. Simple, something you could go back to, works, they have chemistry. I thought that was going to be the base plan here, just with Indy's injury and the call-up. This could be a safe angle to kind of like hit red button or break glass in case of emergency type deal. But we obviously went the different route. We had Roxanne lose to Tiffany, and we had Cora lose to Lyra. It seems like we'll be continuing some stories there, as Roxanne just got attacked by the mystery person who's apparently going to be revealed tonight. If it's not Blair Davenport, I don't know what we're doing. And then Cora was the one who kind of attacked Lyra after she had moved on to the finals, so I assume they would continue that match. What does that mean for Tiffany? I don't know. But yeah, so we set these two up in the finals for the premium event, and I was just like, oh, okay. Just because, once again, we haven't seen much of them, I feel, in this stage. I think the only example I can think of is the ladder match where Indy won the title. Both did a good job in that ladder match, but we haven't had like that singles match during this. And unfortunately, just with some recent events in past over the past weeks of NXT, we've seen some of the rougher side, I guess you could say, of potentially them. Like, things happen. Don't get me wrong. Mistakes happen. Slips happen. Whatever. Lyra going into this match with defeating Cora, there was a couple spots that were a little rough. There was a springboard that didn't line up well, and then her hook kick finisher thing didn't really go great. So that looked a little rough. Tiffany with Indy's injury of her ankle, that triple threat, Tiffany and Roxanne had to pick up the slack. And you could tell that it was a little rough in terms of communication of like, what do we do? What the improv kind of aspect of wrestling. And it was like, okay. But everything must have gone to plan here. Whether they practiced, rehearsed, whatever. I mean, I don't care. I get both sides of like preparation and improv and all that stuff. But both did a great job. It was, like I said, it was a simple story, but it worked out very well. Congrats to Tiffany for winning it here. I know a lot of people seem to be behind her and in her corner, and I think this was a good showing for Lyra too, kind of getting some momentum for herself. So both ladies did a great job. Excited to see, or interested to see rather, where they go from here. Like I said, Lyra probably going to continue some kind of feud with Cora, and then I'm not sure who they'll set up for Tiffany, whether Gigi wins this weaponized steel cage coming up, or you get like a Wendy Chu in there, or I'm not sure who else is on the roster there. But you can figure something out. We'll have to see. And then we got to our main event. We got the NXT Championship. We got Carmelo Hayes going against Braun Breaker. And this match crushed it. This one was a great one, too. Stand Deliver was a good time. You had the face v face dynamic, which can be a little tough. If you want to think about GM mode, they don't like that. But it was that one was a solid match, and this one had the added layer of Braun obviously being heel, so you can play a little bit more with that dynamic of, just ruthless aggression and being vicious with his attacks, his spears, whatever maneuvers he was going to do. I think the guys did a great job here. Didn't seem super long, but didn't have to be. We had a great spear from Braun after Carmelo attempted a springboard, turned around, nailed him. I got scared in like the best way possible of like, oh my God, suspension of disbelief. He's going to lose right now because it looked that brutal. But Carmelo was able to break out of that. Got the momentum back on his side, did a springboard bulldog, I believe, or DDT type maneuver, and then went for the jump shot or whatever he calls that, leg drop, and retains the title here. So good match for these two for their second one. I'm not sure what this is going to mean for Breaker, where he's going to go, what he's going to do, especially because of the draft not getting called up. Is this now the time to get called up around SummerSlam time, or Money in the Bank? I'd be fine with it. It's nice to see that he's kind of explored both sides of, the good guy side, the bad guy side, so he has that flexibility. But yeah, time will tell. We'll see what's next for him. And then Mello, yeah, that's another one of like, okay, what's next for him? I guess he could go against a Gacy, even though he just lost. Noam Dar just won, so yeah, I guess you could do that angle. Or do you keep it face v face? Do you do Wes and him? Do you do Ilya and him? We'll have to see. There's some options there. But yeah, overall, NXT Battleground was a good time. I had fun watching it. I did have one thought kind of after the event, and it wasn't that anything was bad or poor. Like I mentioned, there was down points. Nothing like struck me as like amazing or like, wow, that was a really, really good match type thing. Like there was good things that were good and exciting and performed well, but nothing that stood out to me like this was absolutely the match. And I may be hypocritical with some of the comments I said about the matches before. Like, they were still great, and they were still really executed well. It's just nothing's standing out as, like, a highlight, I guess, maybe is the more appropriate term, from the pay-per-view itself. Like, if I'm going to talk about, okay, we'll just talk about Stand and Deliver because I already brought it up. Stand and Deliver, the Fatal 5-Way is my highlight. The 5 of them crushed it. And, like, that's a match I want to go back and watch, or would go back and watch often. This one all felt, yeah, it's there. It's fine. There's still a lot of established people here, and what I mean by that is like a lot of NXT roster members that we care about and know their characters, know their motivations, stories are around them. That's great. It has me not worried, But we're in a rebuilding part. We just had the draft come up, and a lot of NXT talent got called up. Grayson Waller, Katana Chance, and Caden Carter, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. Andy's gone. JD McDonough's gone. Zoe Stark's gone. Like, I'm sure I'm missing a few. Oh, Indishare. Didn't miss that one. There's a lot of NXT call-ups that did happen that were, like, already established people, and you knew these people can go. And, like I said, there's still a lot of faces on here that are established, but we're in that rebuilding phase of, like, okay, we got to kind of have to rebuild some areas, some aspects of, like, what's next. All these people feel established. Noam probably being the weakest of the link, other than Stratton and Valkyria, just because Noam's character has been reintroduced lately. I already talked about Stratton and Valkyria. They delivered, but just my feelings going into it. What's next for a lot of these people? Unless you're going to do runbacks, like, you have to set up new stories. And while I feel Dyad is a strong team, they're not super happy. They seem to have requested the release and got denied, so their contracts are up in October. So it's like, are we going to flip them back to GYD or GYV rather, which I would love? Are they going to stick around? Whatever it is. So you have that. You got D'Angelo's still there. Stax is still there. Stax, I don't know. I feel like doesn't really have his own thing. He's just kind of there with Tony. Axiom's still there, so, like, I guess you could use him. Von Wagner's been this roller coaster of, like, what are we doing? I don't know. Nothing interesting. You're going to see, we've been already seeing it, but you're going to see a lot of new faces on NXT, and it's a matter of, like, we need to build them up and make them interesting enough. And it's hypocritical of me because I've always been like, oh, push new people and blah, 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 blah. It's a little scary right now. Not in a bad way, just, like, my investment level is not there, but granted, they have to earn it and they have to build it. So, and I'll talk about that on Monday Night Raw stuff too, but that's just an observation I made of, like, going forward, we'll have to see how things go. And it kind of may have hindered my excitement after the event or whatever level. I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling. If you guys checked out Battleground, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'd say give it a watch, throw it on, chilled with it, enjoy that last man standing match, the main event, North American Championship, etc. And we'll go from there. We'll probably revisit NXT down the line at some point. So let's move over to topic 2, Monday Night Raw. And you're like, geez, Bret, you're really breaking down all the wrestling. Even the week-to-week shows. Yes and no. This one's special circumstance just because I happened to be there live. Yeah, on a last minute kind of planning. Raw happened to be local. Got some tickets last week and I was like, yeah, let's do this. So it was Lady's first time at a wrestling show, so I'll let you guys know her thoughts just briefly because she's not here right now, but she loved it. She seemed to really enjoy, the stuff with Seth. Really got into singing his theme. Yeah, she just really enjoyed it. Enjoyed being in that atmosphere. Similar, she akined it to like a hockey game. Like, it's just so different being in that atmosphere with all these like-minded people and that just energy that goes out there. And she was also impressed with just like the viewpoint. Like, we weren't super close. I'd say we're like halfway up the bleachers or whatever the hell, the seats. And yeah, just was like, yeah, this is a good vantage point. And like, you see everything clearly and hear stuff from the ring, and that made it feel more intense or like legit. So she enjoyed that. Just from a live aspect, we both talked about the commercial breaks and stuff like that. That was a little rough. Pyro scared the shit out of us a few times. But towards the end of the night, I was starting to remember, oh yeah, this guy's got pyro. Oh yeah, this guy's got pyro. So we were able to pick up on those things. But she had a good time. She'd be interested in going again. And yeah, I'm curious to see what her perspective would be like if we were closer or if we were farther. I brought up to her the Impact's Bound for Glory being second row for that myself, like that was a whole nother experience in terms of like engagement and immersion and like energy. And granted, that was kind of like a once in a blue moon thing. I highly doubt, at least for a while, they'll be back in the area, which I don't think they will be for right now, as far as their announcements. But like, that was a pay-per-view. It was really close. Price range was down. That's why I was able to do that. So I don't know the opportunity for something like that where we could sit that close. Obviously, other promotions, a little bit more expensive. But I'd be curious just from my brain to be like, would that bring something else forward or bring that extra additional value to her from a energy perspective and an audience perspective? Just a curious thought. But yeah, she had a great time. I had a great time sharing it with her. And yeah, just really fun. Really cool. So let's get into Monday Night Raw, shall we? So I took some notes because I'm crazy while at the event and juggling photos and all that crap. Actually, sidebar, before we get into Monday Night Raw, we did have our main event taping. And I was like, back in November, I was lucky enough to see Alba Fire do a match. I was able to see Grayson Waller do a match before their call-ups. Maybe we'll see some more NXT people. Did not see any NXT people this time. Obviously, they just had Battleground the night before, so totally get that. They're doing their earned their rest. But we did see two matches. We got to see a little bit of the way represented here, as we saw Dexter Lumis take on Akira Tozawa. Dexter picking up the win here, but being a good sport afterwards and shaking the hand of Tozawa before he left. And then we also saw Tegan Nox going against Candice LeRae with Nikki Cross in her corner. We haven't seen Tegan on TV in quite a while, so this was my first time seeing her, and excited to see both of them. I guess they are trying to do a heel persona with Tegan. She seems to have gone to the dark side. So we're trying that out. Both of them had a great match. Some things didn't seem to connect super duper well at points. Could have just been our perspective of where we were sitting. I'm not sure. But Candice would pick up the win here, and she would leave with Nikki. So main event tapings, nothing super serious there. It's usually shorter matches, but some talents we got to see. Very cool. So we get into Monday Night Raw. New champion Seth Rollins does his intro, does a little promo, gets a whole bunch of fireworks because he's the new champion. He comes down the stairwell, conveniently always next to us, similar to, well, not always next to us, but based on the 2 Raw shows that I've gone to this year, those stairs are pretty popular. Had the Brawling Brutes go down those stairs leading into Survivor Series, and now Seth going down those stairs heading into the arena this time. So we got that. He does a promo. Great. AJ surprisingly comes up and interrupts him, which, hey, the draft happened. What the fuck are you doing here? Congratulates him. Judgment Day interrupts. I will say this, a little inside baseball. It's super obvious to know when the Judgment Day are about to arrive. They pump smoke and fog like a bitch at the entrance. You think the Undertaker is about to rise from the ashes. So that was a little like, I mean, granted, you're supposed to be paying attention to the two talking in the ring. I couldn't help myself. I was like, oh, hello. So that kind of spoiled that. Oh, Judgment Day is going to be coming out and interrupting. But they interrupt and set up a tag match for later, teasing their participants. But really cool to see Seth there, especially after just winning the title. Energy in that place was insane. Singing along to his song for most of the night whenever we did have that opportunity. Later on, we would see more insanity from Seth himself in terms of attire. Apparently, this man had a little bit of wardrobe malfunction early on to the night. But cool to see those guys there, and then leading into that tag match was just a nice plus, because obviously AJ is supposed to be over on SmackDown, and get a little plus of him showing up here. Next, we got the Money in the Bank qualifier. We got Ricochet versus The Miz. Holy crap, let's talk about pyro for a second. So Seth got a lot of pyro for his championship win, right? Now, granted, I don't watch the program week to week, so I guess I wouldn't be super familiar with like who has pyro, who doesn't. When does it happen? When does it happen at this point? Just because you watch the premium live events, you only see certain faces, you're not going to see that many. Apparently Ricochet has pyro, but some of the pyro is not pyro. You don't see any fireworks going off or anything like that. It's just a big loud boom out of nowhere, like something exploded somewhere in the back. And yeah, you jump real high. So Ricochet entered, I believe, during commercial break, but great to see him and see him interact with some fans. We had a guy a few rows below us that had a Ricochet shirt, and luckily Ricochet noticed him, pointed him out, gave him a little what's up, so that was cool. But yeah, solid match between these two. Miz on the losing streak, loses here. Ricochet will go to the Money in the Bank. Pretty, I would say, obvious choice. But glad to see him go on to that. I don't know if he'll win. Probably not. But hopefully, Ricochet's been at least used. And I would say in a good way. Obviously, he's not winning, mid-card titles or anything like that. Or in the title picture in certain ways. But it's better than just forgetting about him being in the back. So going from this tag team thing with Braun, whether that's done, whether it's not, and then still being used and then put into this Money in the Bank match coming up later in July, just good to see. Obviously he is, with the high flying aspect, he's just a solid hand for that match. So we'll be interested to see what comes out of that match and him later on in the month. Backstage segment with Adam Pearce. I did appreciate this, and this is a little like nitpicky. So I bitched about the draft, right? AJ, what the fuck are you doing here? You're supposed to be on SmackDown. The draft means nothing. I did appreciate Pearce being on the phone with the guy, Triple H, and being like, no, I understand AJ is supposed to be on SmackDown, blah, 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 blah. Like, they acknowledged it. He's not supposed to be here. But, hocus pocus, bingus bongus, we'll put this tag match together. It was a small thing. I appreciate them at least acknowledging, like, no, you are not supposed to be here. And I guess AJ did that as well when he came out for the promo. But from a official standpoint, it was a small thing. I appreciated it. We'll have to see how fast and loose we play with these draft rules the weeks going forward. Hopefully, I don't know. I know the split rosters is a big debate among the wrestling community of like, yeah, it's the best thing ever. No, it sucks. Like, I see both sides. I see the pros and cons. I personally like 2 separate shows, 2 separate rosters, because it allows for more opportunities for different people. But I also get it from a viewing perspective of like, shit, I only get to see these people on this day. That sucks. Blah, blah, blah. It is what it is. But small thing there. We got Trish coming out, thanking Zoe for her interference. Glad to see Zoe Stark here. We talked about it on the Night of Champions podcast, which you haven't checked that out. You should go check that out. My thoughts and feelings about Zoe being involved in this program, just really quickly. It's great. This elevates Zoe already. Like, you could tell with the crowd, like, they instantly hate her, and she's a, like, credible heel. Like, oh, you did this thing against the person we love. We hate you. Perfect. Established. And I will say, this was the right move. Later on, and granted it could have been just the people behind us, but later on there's some talent where I felt bad, and I kind of almost got a little bit angry of like, God damn it, like, people not having faith in people or knowing who people are, whatever. No comments about that. Everybody just was like, yep, this is Zoe's here and she sucks. And I appreciate that. And sucks in the best way of like, you're a bad guy, I'm supposed to boo you. So yeah, they come out, they do a promo, Becky comes out, I'm angry, let's fight again. Takes care of Zoe real quick, gets in a fight with Trish. Eventually numbers game gets onto her. We thought that maybe somebody was going to save Becky. Where's Lita at? Is she recovering from an injury? I don't know. But no save. We just leave Becky beaten in the corner with a free t-shirt. Hey. Welcome to the low point of the night in this next match that was stupid. We had Indus Sher coming in and beating up the local yokels. No, they're not local yokels. We did have one NXT talent in there, big body Javi, and then some guy that looked like Matt Hardy from the 90s, but probably a foot taller. No idea who that guy was. Indus Sher came in, beat up body Javi for a little while. Then the other guy got in there. He got slammed. Then he got the big drop kick combo or leg drop combo. Indus Sher wins. The end. I don't remember the phrase. Look up Night of Champions podcast. I go into Indus Sher there again. And yeah, I think that was the quietest the crowd was. And it was dead silent. That should say a lot. Not good. That happened one other time during the night. I will happily talk about that when we get to there. So, they pick up the win there. Then we had Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens coming out to a heroic applause and reception. They're doing a promo. Imperium comes out. We randomly get a Baldy chant for Giovanni Vinci, which kind of sucked. And it was like, oh, come on, show some respect to this man. And then we got Shoosh. We got the Alpha Academy in there. They fought against Imperium. Unfortunately lost. I hope Otis is okay. He went for the Caterpillar. Seemed like he kind of might have tweaked his knee towards the end of there. He didn't really get up super smoothly, but finished the match fine. Hopefully he's okay. Yeah, Imperium would win here. A little bit of shenanigans throughout as Valhalla would come out from the Viking Raiders and chase away Maxine Dupree and scare Kevin Owens at one point. Okay, are we setting something up with Academy and the Raiders? Fine with that. Question. I thought the gimmick or the story here was Dupree was trying to steal Otis. But now they're all buddy-buddy. Like, what happened to Maximum Male Models? Are they just MIA? Just an interesting thing. Like, seems like they're a new trio. So, we had that. Before that, we had a Katana Chance and Caden Carter vignette, so hopefully we'll see them soon on the Monday Night Raw roster, doing some fighting and stuff. We got a backstage segment, Dean Raquel and Shotzi with Damage Control. They got a little pot shot into Bayley, saying she hasn't won any titles since she's joined the group. And then we got the Fatal 4-Way for the women's tag titles. I will say, Shotzi's entrance, awesome in person. Seeing the tank, I totally forgot the tank shot out fireworks. That scared the shit out of me. But the match was great. Match was great between the four of them. I will say each of the teams did very, very well. They got a decent amount of time. We got some dives from Shotzi, which was great. Kind of reestablished her. Io and Bayley looked strong. Bayley came in with a save at one point, and everybody was very happy with that. Ronda and Shayna did a little bit more than their WrestleMania match, but not a whole lot. And Chelsea and Sonya played their roles fantastic. I think Chelsea at one point was scared and tagged out, and then that was another moment. If we're going to circle back to the NXT thing with Braun Breaker, Spear, and Mello, I almost thought a miracle was going to happen. I knew Papa Griff was cheering for Green and DeVille. I thought they were going to pull this one out of their ass for a second. We had Chelsea hit the Unprettier, I believe on, I don't know if it was Shotzi, it was somebody. Hits the Unprettier. Sonya hits her like running Shining Wizard type thing. I thought that was the end. It wasn't the end. And I was like, oh, we're still going with this. Crap. So eventually, we get this Tower of Doom spot. Ronda is up top with... Oh, crap. Who was at the top of the tower? I don't remember. But Ronda was involved, and Shotzi ends up pulling both of them down, power bombing them. Shotzi should have gone for the damn cover. But no, instead, she's like, yo, I got to get my inner Darby Allin out of here, and I got to coffin drop this bitch. goes up to the top, gets a little bit distracted by Shayna, or maybe that was before, I'm wrong. Goes up there, does the coffin drop, gets caught in an armbar, and taps out immediately. And then we all sit there with our heads in our hands going, God damn it. I think the guy next to me was happy. Good for him. Enjoy what you want to enjoy. But yeah, this was another moment of the crowd was very quiet. It wasn't as quite dead quiet as Indus-Share, but it was another, I'd say, pretty bleh moment for the crowd. Ronda did get some reaction when she did come out. Some people were very stoked on that. But yeah, afterwards, it was just... comparatively to the rest of the night, crowd was out of this. So, congrats to them. I get it. They're homies. It's just, I don't know. There's no build here. There's no story or anything. It's just like, yeah, it's happening because it's happening, and fuck it. Maybe we'll get lucky enough to have Shayna turn on her. I don't. Don't give me that hope. I don't know. I think it's a lost cause at this point. I just... Like, Ronda, I get it. I get why Ronda's a draw. She should be a draw. For some reason, there's just that disconnect of whether it's her linking up with wrestling and, like, getting it down super fluid or not understanding it or whatever it is. And... it's just, like, it's one of those projects that's fell flat. And Shayna, granted, that was under different management, should have been the same thing. She came in, great momentum, we killed it. We haven't done anything special with her. I won't say we haven't done anything with her, but I don't feel we've done anything special with her. She's been a 2-time tag champ. Now she's 3-time, twice with Nia Jax. Like, I don't know. Who are they going to run with, Carter and Chance? That seems to be... the only opposition, because, well, we know the women's tag team roster is a lot of made-up teams or, like, thrown together teams, which is unfortunate. It's like, if you want this to be a real division, you kind of have to build that division. And I don't know if it's a like, if it's a wrestler specific thing of like, oh, I don't want to be a tag team wrestler, or if it's a management thing. I'm going to lean towards that one because obviously their say is final. It's rough. I guess they're going to go with Carter and Chance. I think Carter and Chance should get a chance because they're a team that's been together for years and they can show it in the ring. They have tag team maneuvers. They have chemistry. If they don't go against Ronda and Shayna, I think at least they should be used. Obviously, we got the vignette this week, and be shown as like a viable contender, and then eventually we can get to that point. I don't know if they would win, because, well, they're like a Ricochet level where they're not that, in comparison, that athletic, but they're like that fast team that does acrobatic stuff, and going against the two bruiser submission type, if they get locked down, that could be a little bit, not a squash, but it might be a tougher mountain to climb. So we'll have to see. And then, yeah, we'll have to see what goes on with the NXT women's tag team belts over on SmackDown. Like, are those going back to NXT? Are we merging them together so it's like the men's titles? I'd be fine with that, but that's only because we haven't built this division up. Like, so if it's cross-branded, at least there's potential for more options there. But time will tell. We still have no idea what's going on with those. But it doesn't seem like they're staying in NXT because they didn't get relinquished or lost. And NXT also doesn't have any tag teams via the call-ups. Toxic Attraction is no more because reasons. Oh, Mandy's going to go do her own thing? Sure, let's break up this team. What do you mean? They were supposed to go on the main or they were on the main roster and they were good just because Nikita didn't want to get vaccinated or didn't get vaccinated. And that's a whole other conversation. Sorry. So we'll have to see what goes on there. But yes, new champs. No surprise. After this, we got a count out. victory, I think, or a disqualification. We had JD McDonough going against Dolph Ziggler. Cool to see McDonough. A little follow-up from their Battle Royale skirmish fight afterwards. JD kind of whiffed his finisher. He does that pull-up off the mat and then into the back suplex. Looked rough, didn't look great. And then we went outside and we beat up Dolph. And yeah, we either got counted out or disqualified. We beat him up against the stairs. Crowd did not like this one in terms of they were booing a lot, which is great. The people around me are like, what was that? Who's this guy? This sucks. And then the comment I hated the most, he's going to be on the main event in 6 months. It's like, bro, I get it. Main event's not the most exciting, but it's there for a reason. It's there to establish people. And it just was this moment of I've heard other podcasts talk about this, and I've even probably talked about it on this podcast, of the mainstream audience not knowing anybody in NXT or giving a flying fuck about anybody in NXT. And you have to build this relationship between the audience and the superstar. And it's oof, man. I was just I'm so tempted to be you guys should check out NXT. Go check out this match. Go check out this match. La, la, la. And the same thing happens with Bronson Reed, which might have been the next match. It wasn't. We're going to skip ahead. We're going to skip to Bronson and Nakamura. The two did a great job. We had back and forth. It's kept Bronson safe in his first loss, pretty sure, or at least first pin loss. Nakamura had to hit multiple Kinshasas. I was hoping for Bronson to win here just because that different dynamic, especially with only 2 qualifiers so far, of Ricochet, Bronson, Money in the Bank, different styles. I thought that'd be cool. But, comments were you think their pay-per-view sales are Bronson Reed's gonna put up pay-per-view sales and oh, this guy sucks and blah, blah, blah. It's guys, please, come on. Go and watch his NXT stuff. He took a little while to get established as Thick Boy when he was a good guy. And then he eventually got over. He won the North American Championship. He wasn't there for super long because stupid budget cuts. But then he went over to New Japan as Jonah, and he killed it over there. What? Yeah, Elimination Chamber too. I was what are we talking about? Come on. I don't know. And granted, it's a small bubble. It's like Twitter. It's only the people who really are angry at stuff or just stirring the pot. It's the vocal minority, whatever it is. It's just why? Why are we so negative? If you're not, well, okay, hold on, because I was negative about Indus-Share, so, pump the brakes there, me. Don't be an asshole. Ugh. It was just frustrating. That was all. So before the whole Bronson thing, we did have some stuff. We had Cody come out with his promo of I broke my arm, but I lost to Brock Lesnar, but not really because I didn't tap out. Sure. Promo aside, Cody's got insane energy around him. It's a lot of fun singing his theme song, whether the correct lyrics or the BTE lyrics. Fireworks are awesome. Energy in the arena was awesome. He's got a great reception. He's got a lot of backing behind him. He came out there. We're doing probably Lesnar 3 at some point, unless Brock's really on vacation, and then we'll do something else in the meantime. Good promo. Whatever. A thing where the energy of the arena was definitely the more fun part of this aspect. Then we got Bro backstage real quick. Gunther comes over and is like, hey, hope you win that Money in the Bank. Best of luck to you, because then I want you to cash it on me, and I can embarrass the shit out of you. So we're setting up that rivalry there. I don't think they would go the route where Riddle actually wins Money in the Bank and then cashes in on Gunther. I think we're just going to set that up naturally as is. But obviously we get the sowing of the seeds here of something brewing between them. Quick backstage with the tag champs, and Ronda's like, yeah, we're tag champs, and these belts prove it that we're the best and we're most ruthless, yada yada. Okay. All right, talked about Nakamura versus Reed, and then we got into our main event, and we had Seth Rollins against AJ Styles, with AJ Styles against the Judgment Day. A little bit of hocus pocus, trying to see who was going to be the two that were taking on Rollins and AJ. Seems like it's going to be Dominic Mysterio and Damian Priest, but at the last second, Finn rolls in, clocks Seth, and it's Finn and Priest going against Rollins and AJ. Solid main event. They got time. They did great stuff. We got some heel antics with Dominic. We got heel stuff with Rhea. Eventually, they would get thrown out and ejected from the match after Dom got tossed in by AJ at one point after a little bit of an outside scuffle. So they get tossed out. Seth Rollins saves a quick pinfall from Priest with a curb stomp. Gets a second curb stomp, I believe, on Priest, pins him, and the good guys win with 1 minute left in TV time. So, nothing super special in terms of what actually happened, but the match itself was solid, and we saw the good guys win overall. So, from a match perspective, Raw was a lot of fun. I thought the flow was really great. We did have the low points. We did have the in-the-share job match, and we did have the McDonough weird count-out DQ thingy. But overall, it was a fun night, and I've kind of seen both sides of the spectrum now with back in November, going to the show, getting the go-home show for Survivor Series, and then seeing the first show after an event and seeing the building process. Going into it, I was like, oh, this is going to be a lot of promos, a lot of talking. While we did have promos, they didn't feel that bad. They didn't feel like they took up a lot of time where it kind of dragged on and whatever. I felt this was a good combination of both promos, wrestling, and a lot of good wrestlers that we saw out there and interesting people that we saw. So yeah, it was a great time overall. Like I said, once again, the crowd was great. A lot of energy in the building, good chants, good singing along, whatever it is. I will say props to who do I want to give a shout out to? I want to give a shout out to Bayley specifically. Bayley plays this heel character in Damage Control, and she does a fantastic job at it, where she goes and she'll kind of jab with the audience here and there and kind of taunt them, and she did the same thing here. There was a younger kid, a boy in the front row, and just seeing the two of them just yell at each other during the tag match going on there, it was just highly entertaining. And the kid didn't back down. Good for him. I'm sure he had a blast. The crowd interactions you could see with other superstars as well, obviously during commercial breaks, whether they came out during the commercial break and did their entrance, seeing them interact with people around the arena and around the barriers was just solid, just adds to the experience, obviously for those people one-on-one, but seeing it from a bird's eye view of just that's great. You're really helping, make it just that extra step farther or better of an experience for people was solid. So that was good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else really to talk about. I can't think of anything. Solid show overall. We already talked about what's next here. I feel like they got to set up some kind of defense for Seth between some member of the Judgment Day next. Tag title thing, we got to figure out what's going on with this whole division. I was a little surprised that we didn't get any ladies qualifying matches on this airing of Raw. It was just the two men's matches. I thought maybe we were going to do one of each. But next week they did announce Becky versus Sonya, and then Zoe and Natalia, I believe. So we'll probably see that rivalry blow over, at least invade that aspect, Jesus Christ, invade that match with their angle, which I'm fine for, having stories in the match and hopefully having multiple. So there was that. Yeah, good stuff. Did Cody address the anarchy in the arena? Say if he was still there, the Elite would have beaten the BCC. He didn't mention it. But then again, I will say, with you bringing that up, something with the arenas, I don't know if it was just this experience or whatever. It's hard to tell what they're saying on the microphones. Like, the microphones, it's probably just their audio system. It's so bumped up that, like, they want you to hear it. But sometimes it's hard to tell. Like, I know Kevin did that hilarious rant of like, we didn't even say your name. You're not supposed to be out here. You're not supposed to go anywhere unless they say your music plays, blah, blah. And that was great. But there was a lot of it, like Sammy didn't understand a thing Sammy said. Cody, 50-50. It was a little rough. I would say Seth was probably the clearest. So that kind of sucked, at least from a viewer in the arena. Just being like, I'm getting the gist of what you're saying here, so I will smile and nod and be like, yes, I totally understand what you're saying here. That is a bad point. Oh, that guy's terrible. So, little rough there. I will say. But yeah, that was probably the only big downside. But yeah. Really excited, or really glad we took the opportunity to go to the show. This has been kind of the year for pro wrestling. Not the year for talking. It's kind of been the year for pro wrestling for myself. Going to Impact, going to two WWE shows, going to an AEW show. Kind of the most events I've gone to in quite a while, and it's been fun. And then, once again, sharing this experience with Lady for her first wrestling show, just to add that extra layer onto the cake, and like something we can share together. So, a lot of fun. Honestly, looking forward to seeing what else comes around this area, if anything. Quick glances, I haven't seen anything. There is stuff that's close. And by close, it's like, that's a 3-hour drive. And I'm like, do I want to hate myself? Probably not. We talked about NXT before. I would have loved to go into Battleground, but just the timing of that, unfortunately, didn't work out, just because these are talents that typically, obviously, are in a zone, an area in Florida. But yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see where people are going, whether it's Impact, whether it's WWE, whether it's AEW, whatever it might be. Just check it out, have some fun with that, and go from there. But guys, this has been another episode of the Wait Where We Talking About podcast. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch the podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there. You get notified when we go live with the streams or the podcast, so you join on the fun and the crazy conversation with us over there. But if you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and puts one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can support the show, likes, subscriptions, reviews, all that fun stuff, whatever it is. It may seem small, does help the channel grow immensely. So if you can take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. But yes, it's another episode of the podcast. A lot of wrestling talk. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If not, there's other ones with topics that you might like on the channel. Check those out. And hopefully get a laugh and enjoyment out of that. But thank you guys so much for watching, giving this a listen, all that fun stuff. And we will see you guys on the next one. Take care.